Good morning, students. Today, the topic which we are going to discuss is storytelling method. The learning objectives of today's topic are storytelling. You will be able to define the meaning and concept of storytelling, importance of stories, activity related to stories, how to tell a story, steps to create great storytelling. Now, what is storytelling? Storytelling is a social and cultural activity. It's both a social and cultural activity or sharing stories in which we have to share stories, often with improvisation, theatrics, or embellishment. Stories or narratives have been shared in every culture as means of entertainment. It will be shared in every culture or society as a means of entertainment, education, cultural preservation, and instilling moral values. Now, what is storytelling? Storytelling is conveying knowledge. It is a way to convey the knowledge, event, or experience in words. Use sketches, images, diagrams, maps, and sound, often by embellishment. Now, it's a way of conveying information, knowledge, event, or experiences in words by using sketches, images, diagrams, maps. It is a literally about telling a story. A person who has valuable knowledge tells story from his or her experiences. No, no. The person who has knowledge about valuable knowledge through his experiences, through his from his learning, and that person tells stories to other person in front of other person who wants to gain knowledge from his experiences or learning. Tell stories from his or her experiences in front of people who want to gain knowledge. Storytelling knowledge, experiences, event, story, plus telling words by using sketches, images, diagram, map, and sound, often by embellishment and way. Now, why storytelling? Educators have long known that the arts can contribute to students' academic success. It's an art that can contribute to students' academic success. Students will gain more academic knowledge and emotional well-being. The ancient art of storytelling, especially well suited for students' exploration, no special equipment beyond the imagination and the power of listening and speaking is needed to create artistic imaging. Now, no special equipment means no special equipment beyond the imagination, means imagination and the power of listening and speaking is needed to create artistic images, and we do not require any specific equipments or things for storytelling. The things that are required is you have to be imaginative, you have a power of imagination and speaking. As a learning tool, storytelling can encourage students to explore their unique expressiveness and can heighten a student's ability to communicate thoughts and feeling in an articulate, lucid manner, lucid in a simple manner. Storytelling, it is the art of using language the way we are using a language. Vocalization, physical movement, and gestures to reveal the elements and images of a story to a specific live audience. Now, it's an art of using language, how we are using the language. Vocalization, physical movement, different physical movement, and gestures that has been used by the person who is telling the story to reveal the elements and images of a story to a specific live audience. It is that the art of bringing a story to life is through the inflections in one's voice, rhythm, facial expression, hands, and body movement. Means we can bring life to any story if we are using inflections in our voice, rhythm, facial expressions, hands, and body movements. By Garvey in 1990, stories are powerful means of language teaching. This is a powerful means of language teaching. Means it is through that language teaching can be easily taught to the students. A skillful teacher means a teacher who has skill can use story to develop more efficient listening among the learners. More fluent speaking, they will speak fluently, and the ability to read and write easily and completely. The hidden power of story, since by its own definition, science by its own definition does not give us meaning. Means science does not, by its own definition, does not give us the meaning of what its science is. It just provides us with facts. Our lives gain meaning only when we tell our story. This is the definition was given by David Stanley Rist. According to Dr. Herbert, stories are so essential to young learners. Means it's an important thing when we are talking or teaching to the young learners. There are numerous reasons to be used storytelling, strategic teaching, especially in preschool, and this is very important when we are teaching the students, the preschool students. Why stories are important? It helps grabs children attention, means it is easy to grab the attention of the students. Children encounter words, take children on a journey. Children make the most of language, stimulate intense experiences without actually having lived through them. Example, jungle, sea world, or any accident, etc. Survive and make senses of the real world. Children is a social senses. Other benefit making connection. Stories are lexically dense. Stories are powerful source of imagination. It will develop the source of imaginations among the learner. Stories can lead the children towards creative thinking, then writing. Means first creative thinking will be developed in them, and then they can write the stories on the basis of their critical thinking. Stories can make your class more communicative. Means every student will participate in that, will communicate. Stories can be more helpful, make a child confident, and it will make a child a confident one. Stories can introduce cultural activities. Now, different cultural activities can be introduced with the help of the stories. Stories build moral values in an interesting way. Now, stories are the basis to build moral values among the learners in a very interesting manner. Stories enhance public speaking skills. It will develop their public speaking skills. Stories reduce stage fear, and the stories help to reduce the stage fear among the learners. Main principles of storytelling technique. Storyteller must have good presentation skills. Means that person who is telling the story must have a good presentation skills. Means how to present something. Good eye contact. He has to establish a good eye contact with the audience. Good enthusiasm and expressions. Good preparation. When he is going to tell a story, he needs a lot of preparation for it. Good use of voice and good volume. Appropriate talking speed means where to take a pause, where to give a pace to his volume, good use of body and hand gestures. And this is also a very important principle when a storyteller has to tell a story. Now, making story exciting and fun for the learners, how we can make that. Add the tool of the teller's voice. There should be a change in the voice of the storyteller, means the use of the skill of stimulus variation, body, face, imagination, the power of imagination. When a storyteller is telling a story, it should uh, build imaginative powers among the learners. They start imagining, they start feeling themselves in that story. They are thinking that they are part of the story. Enthusiasm, spirit, cooperation with the audience. Now, elements of story. Background. This is include the introduction of characters and setting. The first element when we are talking about a story is a background. This is include the introduction, means we have to introduce the different characters that are in the story, and setting, how this setting of the story will be had. Rising action, this includes the event leading up to the main problem or conflict, and that action, the rising action, it includes the events that will lead up to the main problem or conflict of a particular story. Climax, this is when the problem reaches at a high point, is at that point the problem reaches at a higher point in a story. Falling action, this is when the character work to solve the problem or conflict, and that in that the characters are working to solve the problems or conflicts. Resolution, this is how things end up in the story, and this is the way in which the things are ending up in a particular story. The plot of a great story include, what are the different things that a plot must include. A starting point should be there, quickly setting up the story, and then a starting point and a setting up a story related to that starting point. An interesting dilemma or conflict, the journey to resolve the conflict, and then we have to put the story that in that way the conflict has been resolved. In the next will be the climax, resolution, and in the end, the lesson learned. What is the moral of that particular story, and what we have learned from that particular story? Steps to create great storytelling. What are the different steps that will make a storytelling great? Create a thirst or curiosity. Create characters, different characteristics of a story. Make your storytelling big or small. Have full control on your facial expression while expressing, while saying your story. You have to full control on your facial expression. Talk with your hands, means you have to use your hands as much as you can. Create a storytelling atmosphere. Win the audience with the first line. As you introduce the topic, as you introduce the story, you have to win the audience. Tell the story with feelings. You have to make an attachment with the story that you are going to say. Involve the audience in the story, and you have to involve the audience in the particular story. Slow down for the ending, and at the time you have to slow down. How to capture your students' attention. Storytelling has been around as long as humankind. It's not a new thing for the human. It is one of the most effective way to communicate an important truth to another person, and it is an important or an effective way to communicate an important truth to another person. It is a connection point through which two people connect between two people. It's give meaning, context, and understanding in a world that is often filled with chaos and disorder. Because of this, educators must use stories if they hope to reach their students. Means if they want to reach their students, they have to teach the students with the storytelling method. Story will stay with people much longer than facts or statistics. Means they learn or they remember the stories more than the facts or the statistics that has been shared by the teacher with them. If a teacher becomes an excellent storyteller, he or she can ensure that any concept they teach will be remembered for years to come. Means if a teacher knows how to become an excellent storyteller, then any concept which he will teach to the students, that concept will be remembered by the student for years to come. Every part must be essential. When you compose your storyline, be it is a fiction story to teach a lesson or a non-fiction example, make sure that each part of the story is essential to the ending. Means every part of the story is very important, and after that only we will come to an end. Each character, every character that participates in the story, point, every point that they share, a principle must somehow relate to the main point you are trying to drive home. Anything that does not affect the outcome in some way, directly or indirectly, can be hand of the story. Let's take, for example, a story about the plant. You may be trying to help students memorize the orders of the solar system. Any tale you connect to help illuminate the facts must be related to the planets. It is not the time to talk about black holes, supernovas, or even the size of each planet. Draw a theme out of your story. Stories have a depth of meaning. When there is a theme, means a theme should be there. However, it is not always easy to write a story with a theme in mind. It's very difficult to write a story on a theme which is already in your mind. Write rather write the story first. First of all, you have to write the story with all the points you want to cover, on which you want to write your story. When you are finished, stand back from the story for a moment to see if you can draw out a theme. After you have finished the story, after you have written the story, think for a moment to see if you can draw out a theme of that story or not. This is especially important when your story relates to incidents in the past. Themes help connect the past with the present and ultimately the future. Keep it simple means the language should be simple, the story theme must be simple. Complicated stories are not necessarily better. We are not saying that when a complicated story will be presented in front of the students or in front of the learner, then only it will be a better story. No, a simple story can also be a better story. If your audience is young, simple it's obvious. If you are teaching the small children, then the simple stories are good. However, even older audience can be profoundly impacted when you take a complex idea and reduce it to a nugget that can be remembered. And it's not only for the young audience, but it's also work when we are seeing a story in front of an older audience. Scientific principles like gravity and electricity can be difficult for young minds. Using analogies can help them understand these concepts. For example, to explain an electrical circuit, describe how a train can only move along tracks that are connected to each other. Maintained eye contact. This is very important. Eye contact is one of the most important non-verbal way to connect with other people. Now, it's a most important and a non-verbal strategy that is connecting you with your audience. It's not only help keep a student's attention that we are able to grab the student's attention, but it also conveys a sense of confidence and truthfulness. Use vivid language that kids can understand. Some psychologists argue that telling stories is one of the primary ways human learn. Means it is through that the human learns something. Even if you are teaching science or maths concepts, pick a word or two that your students haven't heard of before. Describe and define the word first and then use it throughout the story. First, you make them understand what are the words that has been used by you. For example, if you are talking science, identify the word energy and then use it several times during your story. By the end of the story, they will have learning the concept of the tale plus some vocabulary. Use movement. Movement can be used in multiple ways. Means the teacher can use the movements in a various ways. As the storyteller, you can paint pictures with your body using hands, feet, legs, and head. Similarly, you can ask the students to perform movements during certain parts of the story. Means you can ask the students to participate to perform movements during certain parts of the story which you are going to tell. This will help activate their memory and this will activate their memory and keep their attention focused on what you are communicating. Use dramatic pauses. People often talk more quickly than the brain can process. If you pause at crucial time at important points, you have to take a short pause. In the story, you give your students the chance to think critically. You are giving your students a chance so that they can think critically about the piece of information you have just given. They will start thinking in a critical manner if you pause at the crucial time, and they will start thinking about those things in a critical manner. Don't be afraid to pause, especially at a tense moment. Change your voice with different characters. It helps to make character more memorable when you give them personalities. Part of that includes changing your voice with each character. Means when you are portraying A character, your voice must be different, and when you are portraying a B character, your voice can be different. Without visual prose, the voice is one of the only way to bring the character to life. Without visual props, that props that will be used by you. Without the use of that, the voice is the only way to bring the characters to life. If you have multiple instructors acting as different characters, this is the best option. Means two or three teachers or instructors are playing a certain role when you are telling a story, and this is the best option, and that make the story memorable to the students for a longer period. Make the character relatable. The main character of your story must be relatable to your students. Means they can establish a relationship with the main character. You want them to root for the character's choice and decisions. If the main character is a dud, the students won't care if he or she succeeds or fails. How to tell stories. Mastering a storytelling fundamentals. Engage your audience. Your audience must be engaged when you are telling a story. Build the scene. Build tension and release tension. That what will happen next. Focus on what's important. Focus on important things. Keep the flow logical. It should have some reasons. Make it feel conclusive. Activities related to stories. Mastering storytelling fundamentals. You can tell stories while children draw it. Boost up artistic abilities. Promote questions after exit you have told story. Imperative sentences. Suggested stories. Story of zero. Allah is omnipresent. This evocative form of folk lore sometimes stands in the stead of a wisdom tale. Thought provoking proverbs can suggest a larger scenario. Invite readers to look at proverbs creatively and imagine the story the proverb suggests. And this was said by Heather Forrest. So today, students, you have learned the concept of storytelling, the essential, the important things that has to be keep in mind while the instructor is telling a story to his learners, and the things that makes a story a good story. For further reading on this topic, you can refer these references. Now let us discuss some MCQs that are based on the topic that we have learned, as MCQs are the best way to learn whether you have learned that topic and what are the learning outcomes of yours. Now, the first one is, which of the following is not a way you can get involved with storytelling at home? Now, the options are, have your child silently one book a day, asking your child to retell a story you just read, reading a book with your child and discussing what happened, or it's D, having your child create a timeline with pictures and words to retell the story. Now, students, these are the options. Now, you have to select the correct one, the correct answer on the basis of the given choices. And what will be the correct answer? Yes, the correct answer will be option A, that is, have your child silently one book a day. Now, the second one, stories telling, is where children learn a book and then verbally or visually represent the story, adding a new character and retelling the story. Whether this statement is true or false. Now, you have to tell me whether this story is related with the statement or not. The options are A true, B false. So, what will be the answer? So, the correct answer is option E, that is true. Now, which of the following does not support the importance of storytelling in your child education? Now, there are the options. Now, you have to suggest that which of the following statement is not support the importance of storytelling in child's education. Now the options are, encourage expression and artistic viewpoints through retelling the story. Means you ask the students to retell the story and it will encourage the expression and artistic viewpoints of the learners. Give children a visual for the story that they are reading. They will develop a visual for the story that they are reading. help your child become a better artist. Or it's B, allow students to build onto the story by adding characters, and you are allowing the students to tell a story in which they will add some more characteristics, more characters to that particular story. Now the option are these, and now you have to select the correct one. And the correct answer will be yes, the correct answer will be option C. That is, help your child becomes a better artist. Now the fourth one, which at home activity would be best for storytelling? Options are A, drawing a picture where you have to draw a picture, creating a timeline, you are creating a timeline, creating a play. D option, conducting a conversation about the text, or it's E, all the above. So these are the options. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices. And the correct answer will be yes, the correct answer will be option E. That is, all of the above are necessary at home activity for telling a best story. Now the fifth one. Your local library provides many free programs to your child. Become a strong reader and storyteller. Whether this statement is true or false. Now, options are A true, B false. Now, what will be the correct answer? And the correct answer will be option A, that is, it's a true statement. Now, the sixth one, after reading Brown Bear, what do you see? Your child begins to retell the story using a new character as a part of the story. Your child changes the storyline completely, and you correct them by saying that their added character really is not in the story. This is the correct way to handle this situation. Means you have presented a story in front of your students, and now the student changes the storyline completely what you have presented to him by saying that the added character really is not in the story, and you are saying that you are making a correction in them. You are saying that you have not saying the correct story by saying to them that they have added character that really is not in the story. This is the correct way to handle this situation. Now the options are A true or false. Now you have to tell me whether this statement is true or whether this statement is false. Now these are the options. Now what will be the correct answer? Yes, the correct answer will be option B. That is, this statement is false. Means this is not the correct way to handle this particular situation. Choosing books that your child is not interested in are the best books for use for storytelling. Means you have selected those books to tell stories to your child in which they are not interested. Now the options are A true, B false. Whether this statement is true or whether this statement is false. Now, you have to tell me the correct answer. Yes, the correct answer will be option B. That is, this is a false statement. Now, the eighth one, how often should you use storytelling? Means how often a teacher should tell a story to his learners or students. Options are A, daily, even if the child does not want it. Means you have make a routine that daily you will tell a story to the students even if they don't want to listen a story today. B, Once a week, you have decided that you will tell a story to the students once a week. C, once a month, or it's D, as often as the child wants. Now, these are the options A, B, C, D. Now, you have to select the correct one on the basis of the given choices. And the correct answer will be yes, the correct answer will be option D. That is as often as the child wants to listen to a story. Now, storytelling can be used in which of these subjects? Means in which subject you can use the storytelling method to teach your students. Now, the options are A. Language arts, means you can use this storytelling method when you are teaching the students the language arts. B. Social studies, when you are going to teach them the social studies. C. Science, when you are teaching them the science. Or it's D. All of the above. Now, these are the options. Now, you have to select the correct one on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be option D. That is all of the above. Means you can use storytelling method in any subject that you are going to teach to the learners. This method can be easily used by a language teacher, a social science teacher, and even a science teacher to explain a concept to the learners. Now, the 10th one is storytelling is only used in the United States of America. That storytelling method is only used by the teachers of United States of America. Now the options are A, true, or B, false. Now you have to tell me whether this statement is true or false. Now the correct answer will be yes, the correct answer will be option B. That is false. Means not only in United States of America, the storytelling method is used in almost all the countries. Now, thank you, students. With this particular narration, you have understood the concept of storytelling. So, what do you mean by a storytelling method? Essentials which are needed for telling a story. How to teacher should portray or express a stories in front of the learners. Different characters, gestures, the use of voice, and essential features that make a story memorable to the learners. If a teacher is teaching any topic with this technique, the students will able to learn that concept for a longer duration. Thank you, students. Thank you so much for your patience listening.